Greetings, folks, and welcome to our second episode commemorating the 30th anniversary of Desert Storm. We hope you enjoyed our first episode where we had an opportunity to talk to MiG Killers, Mark Fox, Nick Mongillo, and their current day sunliner, Hot Cakes. Today we get a real treat. We get a chance to look at the actual airplanes both Mark Fox and Nick Mongillo flew on that fateful day, 17 January 1991. Follow me. Okay, gang, welcome to our restoration hangar here adjacent to Forrest Sherman Field at Naval Air Station Pensacola. I've got a talented crew led by Mike Allen that is absolutely skilled at taking these airplanes and restoring them. Before you, you have Mark Fox's F-18 that he flew January 17th for the shoot-down. Admiral Fox, thrilled to have you here. We're going to talk about a lot today, and the team is very excited to take your airplane that you flew on that fateful day and restore it here. Talk to us a little bit about this experience, what it's like to see this airplane again, and some thoughts from that day and that engagement.
Well, it's hard to put into words the way you feel about an airplane that you shared so much of such a visceral experience, really. I flew this airplane, I was looking through my logbook, I think out of the 18 hops I flew in Desert Storm, I think I flew this airplane 9 or 10 times. I've been the maintenance officer of the squadron before this, and it had a slightly, it met the specs, but it had a sort of a slightly weak left engine. And as the old maintenance officer, I became the ops officer. I didn't complain about it because it met specs and it was fine. But I wound up flying this airplane a disproportionate number of times just based on the fact that the maintenance department knew that I wouldn't be complaining about the left motor. And after the first mission, I felt like it was kind of my lucky charm anyway. So I flew this airplane twice on January 17th, 1991, the MiG Kill mission, and then later that night I shot harm off of it. So it's a very special thing to see this airplane still in one piece. I'm gratified to know that it made it to the end of its service life, and I'm humbled that it's going to be part of the Naval Aviation Museum.
Well, it's wonderful to have you here, Mark, and I tell you what, one of the things, and you're going to see what this airplane looked like when we rescued it from the Naval Depot in San Diego, because Mongo's jet, which we're very fortunate to have, is on our flight line, and over its 30 years, it was cannibalized heavily to keep our existing Hornet fleet flying. This jet is almost finished, and we'll look at this jet some more to include hopefully getting Admiral Fox inside the cockpit for some recollections. If you noticed, if you paid attention, we also have a MiG-21 in pieces. It's actually a Polish MiG-21 that our foundation came and was able to get into their possession, and we look forward to restoring that airplane into Iraqi colors so we can fully commemorate what Mark Fox and Nick Mongillo did on 17 January 1991.
I flew this airplane twice on the first day of Desert Storm, 17 January 1991, the MiG Kill mission in the morning and the afternoon, and then a harm shot that night. The airplane was really, really well designed. It was well maintained, and everything worked. So as a tribute, I think, to both the workmanship and the engineering of the people who build the weapons and the airplanes that we fly, and it's also a tribute to the troops and to the maintainers and the people who actually were responsible for employing it and loading it and making the airplane work. I'm being recognized because of an event, but I hope that I can reflect the recognition of all of the people who did well that allowed me to function that way. So I want to reflect a lot of this recognition back to the maintainers, the engineers and the people who made this airplane possible. So the MiG Kill marking on the nose of the airplane represents an Iraqi MiG-21. We were about 35 miles south of the target in western Iraq on the first day of the war. We were not looking for Iraqi MiGs. They were between us and the target, and so Nick Mongillo and I wound up shooting down a couple of Iraqi MiG-21s on our way to the target, and then we were able to accomplish our mission and move on in and drop our bombs and accomplish the original primary mission of striking that airfield. I look forward to the opportunity to get back in this jet. It's been probably close to 30 years since I've had a chance to fly or sit in this cockpit, so this will be kind of a treat for me today. Been some pretty remarkable times in this cockpit. It's a neat thing to be back in it. I didn't have to wear these glasses the last time. Well, this is the master arm switch, and obviously that's got to be up before you can release ordnance. This is the way you select the Sidewinder or the Sparrow or the gun. And then this obviously is the trigger that you use to release the ordnance. In this case, forward firing ordnance. So the Sparrow and the Sidewinder this way, and then to drop the bombs, you go air to ground and then hit the pickle here. So the sequence of events from the actual MiG Kill 400 advantage on your nose at 15, I went like this to a Sidewinder, quick lock. Got a tone. There's a little button here on the right side of the right throttle that you cage the Sidewinder to look down the radar line of sight. Got a tone, got a shoot light. Sidewinder, master arm was on. Took the shot. The missile came off the rail, but it disappeared. It was a smokeless motor. It was the first day of hunting season. I said I might have had a little bit of buck fever. So selected Sparrow by doing that. And at this point I took a 4.2 mile Sparrow shot, and the Sparrow came off the rail like a Saturn V in comparison. Kind of some time compression. The Sidewinder hit him, then the Sparrow hit him, and then I passed right over the top of him by less than 1,000 feet. I rocked up on my left wing and looked down at him, and then we continued on to the target. Something else. So it'll be interesting to see what the MiG pilot was looking through. He was in a great disadvantage from a training and a technology and a maintenance capability. I was flying a much better jet. I had much better training and a better designed airplane and better weapons. He was doing his job and I did mine.
We mentioned earlier we've came into possession of a MiG-21 that we're looking forward to restoring later in the year into Iraqi colors. I suspect Mark Fox will be very interested to look inside that MiG-21 to see what his opponent was thinking on that fateful day. Mark.
Kind of like being in a T2 with some radar stuff. He was flying an inferior machine, but I also looked at somebody who was flying this as a man who was doing his job and I was doing mine. This is a very different cockpit. Yeah, this is pretty cluttered cockpit. But it reflects the time in which it was designed and manufactured, I guess. But I was definitely in a better machine and a better maintained and better designed airplane.
Well, you've had a chance to see the considerable effort that went into the restoration of Mark Fox's F-18. We're now going to go out on a flight line and look at Nick Mongillo's jet, and you'll see what the restoration team did to get this airplane looking good. And we look forward to getting Mongo's jet squared away soon as well. Come with me. Like it. I love the call sign for the lieutenant there. Yeah. Gotcha. Okay, welcome to our flight line. We have here F-18 Bureau number 163502, which on 17 January was flown by Nick Mongillo. Now, as you see, this airplane came from Naval Depot, San Diego, in pretty rough shape. So kudos to our aircraft restoration team for getting 163508 Mark Fox's jet up to speed. And we look forward to replicating that act here with Mongo's jet soon. Mongo, what do you think, seeing your old war horse?
It's a great reunion. It's been about 15 or 20 years since I've seen this aircraft on the flight line. And of course, it's been 30 years or so since I actually had a chance to fly this aircraft. So it's an honor to be a part of this exhibit that you're putting together and the restoration. I'm really appreciative that you would bring me back here and to see it in the beginning, and then it's going to transpire over the next several months, look like Mertz, and then it'll be in the museum itself. Fabulous.
Good. Would you like to crawl up and take a peek in the cockpit?
Absolutely.
A little more austere than when you were in it.
I know. I'm convinced if it was an operator, I could get in and fly today. Because after several thousand hours in the F-18, it's like getting on a bicycle.
Before you jump in the cockpit, give us some recollections of that mission that day. I know we talked about it yesterday or last episode in the panel, but talk a little bit about, kind of borrowing from some of the stuff you talked about in the panel, about now that you see the airplane, some things that just, oh, by the ways that jump out of your mind.
I was a new guy flying a relatively new aircraft. Unproven. If you go back to this time frame, the F-16, F-18 dual mission, there were many non-believers in the world. If an aircraft and a pilot could actually perform both missions. There were folks that didn't like the aircraft or didn't think it could actually do that mission the way it was. So we were in unproven territory. And I was flying along with Mark Fox and some of the more senior folks, but we were new. So we took this airplane for the first time into combat. And I think the results speak for themselves, where you can actually have a mix in some scenarios of an ear-to-ear, ear-to-ground armament loadout and be successful. So being part of the inception of that, very, very proud of that. And going back to the go forward, being a nugget flying this was also an interesting time. I showed up in the squadron 2 weeks before deployment and had a chance to get up to speed over Desert Shield and participate in Desert Storm and actually cut my teeth on this airplane in this community. And then I had the opportunity over the next 15 years to fly it and to move up in all the different lots of F-18s into the Super Hornet and be a part of the maturing of our community, becoming a lethal force, even more lethal than we were back in the Gulf War days.
That's awesome. Let's go inside.
I think without a helmet, I'm waiting for somebody to come out of the hangar and scream at me that I'm violating the safety protocols of the commanding officer.
A little more austere than when you flew it, but some thoughts as you look back into that cockpit?
This is home. This is where Mark Fox and I and the other folks that grew up and spent thousands of hours of our life, nearly 4,000 hours of our life flying in all different flavors of the F-18. representing our Navy, representing our country, and our flag and what we do around the world. If this was in better repair, and it will get to that point, I'm sure I could jump in and strap it on and fly this thing once again. So very proud to see this aircraft that has meant so much to me personally and our Navy and our nation over the wars for the last 30 years and fighting for freedom. We are representatives of who we are as a nation.
Folks, this concludes this episode of our commemoration of the 30th anniversary of Desert Storm. We hope you've enjoyed it, viewing it as much as we've enjoyed putting it together. Look forward to events in the coming weeks and months as we continue to celebrate the 30th anniversary of Operation Desert Storm. Be safe.
If you're enjoying this program, please help us to continue to bring this unique content by supporting your foundation. The Naval Aviation Museum Foundation is dedicated to honoring and preserving naval aviation history. When you support our foundation, preserve these memories and educating our next generation of aviation enthusiasts. But we can't do this without amazing supporters like you. So please visit navalaviationfoundation.org/donate. Together, we will keep naval